Hello, and welcome to this mini masterclass. So, I'm talking to you today about how to use something called the negativity bias to help your brand stand out, connect more effortlessly with the people it needs to connect to, and ultimately attract more clients and more sales. It's a great one. It's a simple tweak you can make. It's really easy to use, but it has a massive impact. In fact, it can see your sales increase by up to 42%. And I have not made that figure up. So grab yourself a pen and a pad and let's hop to it. I am going to get rid of my face and I'm going to flick over to my slides because I've got some slides for you. So here we go. Let's share the screen. So you should be able to see my screen now. So the negativity bias. Yes, it can help you stand out and get more clients. And yes, it can help you increase your sales without having to resort to crazy marketing techniques or fads. And we all want to spend less time marketing, but have more of an impact. And if you're struggling to get your message heard, if it's being ignored, then stay tuned because this is going to be perfect. I'm going to teach you this by showing you how to use something called the brand attraction method. So it's a unique but really simple method that uses the science of human behavior and shows you how to create a message that seduces the subconscious brain of your prospects and positions your brand as the obvious choice. So ultimately, this will help you generate predictable profits for your business. And the great thing about this method is it works whatever type of business you have. If you have something to say and something to sell, then this is for you. So before I hop into it, I'm going to take you back a little bit in time. Now, I promise I'm not going to spend 20 minutes talking about myself and then give you 2 minutes of value. I am only touching on this to show you how I came to develop this method and give you the confidence that I'm not some overnight success internet marketer who's taken a few courses and now sells you what I learned last week from someone else online. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Nikki Clark, and I'm known as the go-to person for helping business owners create a clear and compelling brand message in the marketplace. My absolute passion is taking all the hype and bullshit out of marketing and simplifying it all so you can get better results. And my story and journey with marketing began back in the north of England in the summer of 1991. So Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, with the then young Kevin Costner, was a massive box office hit. And in the UK, we'd been forced to endure about 16 weeks of Bryan Adams, Everything I Do at number one. It was painful. At the same time, I was in middle school at that time, and my mum that summer opened 3 Benetton stores. So if you were a 90s kid, you'll know that having your mum own Benetton stores was just about as cool as it could get. And Benetton had this tagline of the united colours of Benetton because their mission was around uniting the world and using their clothing brand as the platform. And their advertising during this time was really controversial. Like for the 90s, for 20 odd years ago, this was really, really controversial. They had images of coloured condoms, a black woman breastfeeding a white baby, there were nuns kissing. And I just covered my textbooks with these images. I went off to school with all my books plastered with these Benetton posters. And I really wanted to talk to people and share their vision with my friends because I thought it was just so compelling and so different. And this was the summer that I became hooked on the world of marketing because I realized that brands could make an emotional connection with consumers. It was something I hadn't really realized before I interacted with Benetton. So fast forward a few years, I went to university, studied fashion and branding. And then 15 years on, I have been lucky enough to devise strategies for some of the world's biggest brands like Nike, Levi's, Nokia, IBM, Billabong, just to name a few. So I've done that in my home country of England and also in my now home, Australia, where I live with my husband and my 2 gorgeous but very loud children on the coast of Sydney. So it's safe to say that Benetton captured my heart back in 1991, and it really did shape the trajectory of my career. It's why I'm here today, because I'm passionate about helping you create a message and marketing that people will fall in love with. So I escaped my corporate job back in 2014, and maybe like some of you, I just felt the pull to step out of Cubicle Nation and set out on my own entrepreneurial journey. My vision from the beginning has been to help small businesses and startups and brands make an impact and make a profit. And I've been joyfully doing that for the last 4 years. And I'm regularly referred to as the brand message expert that other experts come to when they need help with their message and their marketing. So enough about me. Let's talk about you. So if you have a business or you're starting a business and you aren't 100% clear on your niche, maybe it's a bit muddy, a bit fluffy, you're just not 100% sure, you don't think you've nailed it, or your brand position to you isn't like, you're not sure if it's compelling enough, you're not sure if it's cutting through, or your message is making it, then this is going to be perfect for you. If you aren't attracting the right type of clients or enough of them, then this will be great. And if your revenue is inconsistent because of that lack of clients, because your marketing isn't making an impact, then we are going to sort that out. So in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to help you find a new way of talking about what you do. And everything I show you today has been proven to work for businesses big and small. So I don't want you to be thinking that, okay, well, it might have worked for Nike, but will it work for me? It works for businesses large and small. And it's not based on theory. It is based on what works. So I will ask you in return to please share this on Facebook. If you send me a direct message when you've shared it, in return, I'll send you a great gift, which is the workbook that accompanies this. So you can put everything into action. Do we have a deal? Great, then let's kick on. So why is this training going to be a little bit different to something you may have experienced before? Well, it's not based on a tactical trend or fad. It is rooted and based on human behavior, because marketing and branding is both an art and a science. But most importantly, it's the foundation of your business. I'm not ashamed to say that everything else is built upon this. If you do not have these brand foundations of a different position, a clear message, and a reason for people to care, then nothing else will work. If you've spent money on websites and advertising and branding shoots and all those things before you've got this done, then you are throwing your dollars away. So, are you ready? Let's talk about how to use the negativity bias to define a clear position for your brand. So this is step one and part one of step one of my 3-step process for defining your niche and creating a powerful message. So I have not taught this before to anyone apart from my private clients or the clients that I work with one-on-one. It's the first step of the process that I take my clients through, and it's one of the most important steps. It's not going to require you to do an ideal avatar exercise. Yay! So I know when it comes to niching and messaging and positioning, everyone talks about an ideal client exercise. Well, they start with that. They usually start with it. And it's this process of describing someone you want to work with, like an imaginary best friend in minute detail. Like, she has kale for lunch, she takes a 30-minute break to meditate, wears vegan nail polish, has a dog named Freddie, all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you should never do any form of ideal client exercise. What I'm saying is it's not the place to start, because a lot of that detail that you go into is just not relevant. You would struggle to find 50 or 100 people that had exactly that profile. So what we are going to start with instead is a different approach, which focuses on subconscious brain patterns that all great brands use to gain love and loyalty. And why are we talking about subconscious brain patterns? Well, 95% of our buying decisions are made by our unconscious brain. So our brain's just, it's like an iceberg. The conscious part of the brain is at the tip, and below the surface, we've got this unconscious, intuitive, and emotional mind. And why does that matter when it comes to growing your business? Well, customers buy on unconscious feelings. We think that we're rational beings. We think that we make decisions based on logical and rational data points. But really, we use data to back up a decision that our subconscious brain has already made. So think of any example. So I'm going to use the example of my husband. I'm sure he's going to love this, but he wants to buy a new mountain bike, right? So he'll come home and he'll tell me all these great data points about the bike, and it's got this shock absorber and the frame's made of this and it does this and you can do that. But really, his subconscious brain made a decision about what bike he wanted, and he's just using those points to back it up. He's made the decision because he's got a brand that he's loyal to, because their message has penetrated his mind and now has a place in his heart because they've done a really good job of positioning themselves and speaking directly to him. He likes the way it looks. He likes the way it feels because he feels professional when it's on it, all those different things. So now he's just using his data to back up a decision that he's already made. And that's what we all do. We meet people, we decide whether we like them. We interact with a brand, we decide whether we're going to buy from them. All those different things happen in our subconscious brain. So when we use messaging that speaks directly to the conscious brain and bypasses that, we're actually missing a trick. We need to start with human behavior and a pattern that already exists. So the 3-step process that I teach, the first step is focused on people and problem. And why do we focus on the problem that your brand and your product solve? Well, it's due to the negativity bias. And the negativity bias is, simply put, your brain is built with a greater sensitivity to unpleasant news. So the bias is so automatic that it can be detected at the earliest stage of our brain's information processing. So if we hear something negative, we are up to 42% more likely as a customer to take action than if we hear something positive. So one negative versus one positive, they don't equal each other. If you've got a negative, sometimes you need up to 20 positives to outweigh that negative. So if we start talking to somebody straight away about a problem they have which they need solving, a few things happen. First of all, you're focusing on them, not you. Now, when we put someone else at the center of the message and the center of the world, then we get attention, because we're not talking about ourselves, we're talking about them and why something matters to them and their problem. We also get understanding because they've got a problem and they're like, yes, somebody understands. And we get emotion, because the amygdala is the emotional center that governs our fight and flight. So if you want to activate that part to trigger emotion, the best way to do it is to speak to a problem, to use the negativity bias. So how do we do this? Well, when you start thinking about your brand message and you start thinking about the products or services that you offer and how you want to communicate with people, focus on one problem and make it the most painful problem. So a mistake that people can make is focusing on lots and lots and lots of problems, and a confused mind just opts out. You need to make it singular. So what is the biggest, most painful problem? Make sure it's tangible and identify how does that problem make your prospect or your customer feel. And the reason we do this is because our brain is quite lazy. It's inherently lazy. Like, It wants to focus only on one thing, and it wants to create the shortest route to get to where it wants to be. So if you speak to someone with a problem, you make it singular and you attach it to an emotion, you're going to get attention, understanding, and instant connection. So, what do they ultimately want? What is their problem stopping them from getting? So if you share this on Facebook, this mini masterclass, I will send you the workbook that walks you through these steps, and you can do this exact process with your brand message now. So there's a workbook that takes you through it step by step. So please share, and I will send that to you. Just send me a direct message on Facebook, message my Facebook page that you will have seen this pop up on, and I will send you the workbook. So back to it. What is their problem stopping them from getting? And what is it stopping them from feeling? Now, if you're struggling with this, think of the problem they have as a villain or character. Let me just take a sip of water. So if you think of like the Snickers advert, you're not you when you're hangry. That's a villain. That's like creating you out, making you out to be a villain. You're not yourself when you feel hangry. So think of your problem. If it had an alter ego, if it was a villain or a character, what would that problem be? The bad boyfriend hormone or the hangry. And when you language it, start with a question. So start with, have you ever felt like? Do you know what it feels like? Maybe remember the last time you. So by framing it with a question, you speak direct. The brain wants to answer that question when you ask it to somebody. So you're creating a connection point. You're triggering the brain to want to answer the question, and you're talking to them about a problem. So you've got the trifecta there. Next, use their language. I can't stress this enough. I think in marketing, we often try and make things sound so shiny and so glossy and so wonderful that we forget the language and the conversation that our customers and our prospects are having in their own head. So use language that they are already using. They don't wake up saying, I want to find my bliss. Oh, I wish I felt more enlightened and whatever it may be. Your customer probably wakes up going, oh God, I'm just feeling like this is Groundhog Day. I'm so overwhelmed, I've got no energy, I'm so over this. Think of the words that they use and use them in your message, because it makes it so much more powerful. And my last tip is to explain it to a school kid. So when you talk about what you do, when you talk about this problem that you're solving and you're using a question, so have you ever felt like, have you ever found that? Did you know that most businesses struggle with? Do you know that people over 30, XYZ? If you explain that in a really succinct way to a kid who has a very short attention span and uses fairly simple language, and they get what you say, or at least, are on the same wavelength, then you are definitely on the right track. So I'm going to give you a few examples here. So it could be, how frustrating it is when your kids lose their expensive new hat or lunchbox 1 week into a semester. Like, we all know that if we're parents, right? My kids have just gone back to school, like day 2, and my son's like not come home with his lunchbox. I'm like, seriously? Day 2, people. So that's a frustration. If someone talks to me about a solution they have to that problem, but they start with that problem, they say, hey, Nikki, you know how it drives you crazy that your son loses his hat and his lunchbox on day 2? Well, I've got this XYZ. Well, I'm listening straight away. My brain is like, yes, I'm there. Tell me more. Another example, have you ever felt intimidated and self-conscious when you walk into a gym? So much so that you wish you could be invisible. I know a lot of people have felt this. I felt this. You walk in, everyone looks cool, they know what you're doing, and you're like, I don't want to be here. What if I do the wrong thing and just look like an idiot? So again, speaking to a problem and asking a question. For me, I often say to people, so many business owners find it overwhelming trying to stand out and get customers in this noisy world. So that's, you know, that's true. That's true, probably true for you if you're on this masterclass. You're finding it hard. People are ignoring your message. It's bloody noisy. So focus your message and your offer around a problem, and then find the people with that problem to speak to. Then speak to the people with the problem. Then do the ideal avatar exercise for the people with the problem, not the other way around. So I want you to remember one thing in all of this. A confused mind never buys. So if your message is long and convoluted, if it doesn't focus on a problem, if it's not creating emotional connection, if people are like, what? I'm not sure what you mean. Oh, is that for me? Or if people can't refer people to you because it's too hard for them to explain what you do, people are not going to buy. They opt out. Confusing. No, it's gone to the too hard basket in my brain and I'm done. I'm not listening anymore. So make it super simple. So my brand attraction method takes people through the people and the problem. So mind reading your customer. This is just one little technique out of many that I teach people. We then go on to brand positioning, so uncovering your unfair advantage, looking at what makes you different and how to position that as front and center in your brand. Then the packages, how to create stories around your packages so that they sell themselves. And then simple promotion plan to explode your growth. Because the truth is, when it comes to building a business, is that we should be spending 80% of our time on revenue generating activity. And if you're spending 80% of your time on marketing and sales, and you don't have a clear message, and you don't have a clear position, and your packages aren't selling, then you're spending 80% of your time wasting your time. And if you don't believe me, here's a great quote I love from Gary Vee. He says, too many of you are putting in the hustle on a shitty game plan, or worse, without a plan. I hustle because I have a clear message and a plan unique to my business. So a clear message and a plan. So you might be thinking, okay, Nikki, you're making this sound very easy, but have people like me used your method and got results? So yes, is the answer to that. I have had clients who have grown their list by 500 people in 2 weeks just by tweaking their message. They've been invited to collaborations with big brands, big name brands, or they've been invited to do joint ventures. They've had booked out workshops. They've been booked for speaking engagements. They've launched books. They've had fully booked retreats, fully booked one-on-one clients, doubled their revenue and sold out their offers. Here are a few smiling faces. So Rochelle from the Holistic Goddess, Belle, Mary, happy clients. So if you want to become in demand, if 2019 is the year where you're like, I am done faffing around with this message, I'm done with my marketing not hitting the mark, but I'm also done being sold like cookie cutter systems from gurus and then following them and they're just falling flat. If you want some personalized one-on-one attention, if you want my brain and my eyes on your business, then you can apply for a call with me. We can hop on a strategy call together for free, and we can look at what are your goals, where are your blind spots for your brand and your message, what are the things you need to be doing to double your revenue, to get fully booked, to get where you want to be and have a brand that's in demand. There are limited spots. I do one-on-one work a couple of times a year and then I close my books again. So if you want to have a call with me and understand a bit more about your brand, I promise to pack value into the call and you'll come away clearer and inspired and confident to get on with your business. And I'm going to be totally honest here. I invite people to work with me who are the right fit. If you are not the right fit and if I can't help you, then I will pass you on to one of my great referral sources, or I will supply you with some great starting points and free content. So I'd love to hear from you. Are you ready to take action in your business? Are you ready to make this the year that your brand message stands out, cuts through the noise, and start getting some amazing results from your business? If you are, then click the link that you find above or below this video and hop on a call with me. I would love to help you. Have an awesome day, and thanks for taking the time to attend this training.